Alright, so here are our 1-7 day 2 solving absolute value equations. So we're going to kind of go into special cases now, even though we already had cases. But before, when we were doing this, remember that there was a case 1, which was your positive case, and a case 2, which was your negative case, and then you continue solving. Well, now there's going to be a few other things that happen. So we are still solving still solving equations in one variable that contain an absolute value. And remember that that absolute value means that you are talking about the distance that that number is to the 0 on a number line. So this is just a little review right here. It was in our last set of notes. This table summarizes the steps for solving absolute value equations, with step 1 being use inverse operations to isolate the absolute value, so we want to get it alone. Once we get it alone, then we're going to rewrite the resulting equations as two cases. So remember that you're going to have case 1 where it's positive and one that's negative. And then after you have that rewritten, then we would solve the cases using SADMAP, or the order of operations backwards. Alright, so taking a look at our new types of equations, what happens is some absolute value equations have 2 solutions, some have 1, and some have none. So these are the ones that we have done in day 1, in the notes and the assignment. But if we're talking about these new kind of special cases, what happens is if the absolute value expression equals 0, there's only one solution, because 0 is neutral. It's never positive, it's never negative, it's just neutral. And so if you are trying to say, for instance, how many options can make this statement true, the only thing that you could put in here is 0. There is no like negative 0 to put that in. So that's what happens when you have an equal of 0 for your absolute value. And so actually, instead of erasing that, I'll just keep that up there. Alright, and then the next one is if an equation states that an absolute value is negative, there are no solutions. So that's a very interesting piece here. So basically you're saying that an absolute value equals a negative 7 or whatever. You cannot ever have an absolute value equal to a negative number. So this is not possible, because distance is always positive, and so there's no way that you could do that. There is going to be a way later on in Algebra 2, but we just won't go there yet. So no solutions right now, not possible. Alright, so of course we're going to have 2 examples now, and one of them is going to be when we solve and we'll get one solution, and one is going to be when we solve and get no solutions. And then of course you'll have the practice on your assignment. So in this first one here, we're approaching it the same way that we did before. We're trying to isolate our absolute value equation. So if we want to isolate that, we're going to add an 8 to both sides. And then this is where you end up with 0. So notice that we have 0 equal to the absolute value of x plus 2. And so we can't have a positive and a negative case. We can only have one case. And the one case is that 0 is going to equal x plus 2. Then we solve that, and we're going to subtract 2 to both sides. And we're going to get a negative 2 equal to x, and that is our answer. And again, there's only one solution because of that absolute value equaling 0. Alright. Our last example here is going to be the one I assume that has none. So this is where it's going to get a little tricky, because depending on how much you're paying attention to the problem, you might actually just continue through without seeing what happened. So here's our absolute value. We're going to isolate it. So that 3, that's a positive 3, needs to be moved over. And so now we're going to have negative 3 equal to the absolute value of x plus 4. Oops, I tried to make that a parenthesis. Alright, so again, the problem here is that we are trying to say that an absolute value cannot result in a negative answer. However, if you were just trying to work through it and go fast, you would have just said, oh, okay, case 1 is x plus 4 equals a positive 3, and case 2 is x plus 4 equals a negative 3. Right? What's the difference? But the difference is that in our previous statements, the 3 has been positive, or any number that's on that side has been positive. And so we can actually say these cases, but because it is negative, these cases literally don't even exist. So in that instance, we are going to end up saying at this point, absolute values cannot result in a negative answer, and so we have no solutions. All right, and don't say 0 because, of course, 0 would be a number. We're going to have to say no solutions or not possible or whatever. So that's what you're going to get in your assignment for today. You're probably going, for tomorrow, you're probably going to get ones that will result in one solution like we did in that example, or in fact, no solutions. All right.